Don't forget to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube. Let all of your friends and family know to subscribe so that you know when the Center of Hope is going live.
God bless you and welcome to Real Talk. If it's Monday night and it's 9 p.m., it's time for Real Talk. I'm your co-host on tonight, Bishop Mitchell Taylor, and I'm so glad that you decided to stop by and join us for another edition, live and in direct color with you on tonight. Listen, as you're coming in, hit that share. You like that, right? Hit that share button. Let people know that we are live and ready to talk and engage the real talkers on tonight. And we've got a real hard-hitting subject that I believe you're going to get into on tonight. It's going to be a blessing. I want to take just a moment to welcome the real talkers on tonight. Bless you, Sister Wendy. Brother Peter Keynes, who blessed us on Sunday morning along with the praise team Sunday afternoon. Sandra, bless you. Christina Stokes, bless you. Greetings to you. Sandra Wilson, Melinda Williams, blessings. Sister Mother Wendy Pittman, blessings. Phyllis Williams, blessings. Laverne Wilson, bless you, blessings. Juanita Wins, bless you. All right. Bless all of you that are coming into the virtual sanctuary on tonight. Don't forget, as you're coming in, hit that share button and let folks know that we are live and on the air. And I believe that tonight is going to be a real interesting dialogue and conversation. And so I'm really ready to get into it on tonight and to talk with you. So I want to encourage you to use the comment section to amplify your questions and to be a part of the program on tonight. If you want to raise a point or to get into the dialogue, then we welcome it. We welcome all the real talkers on tonight. We are in year number 3. Somebody put that in the comment section. Year number 3. 3 years. Real Talk has been on the air. Myself and my co-host, the Honorable Bishop Dr. Liston Page II. Bishop.
Bishop Mitchell G. Taylor.
Welcome. Well, I was just saying 3 years we've been on this platform and we haven't deviated. And I'm just grateful to the Lord to give us another time, another evening, another opportunity to talk and dialogue. And every time we come together, it always seems to be a very interesting dialogue. It gets better as it goes along. You know, it's like an engine that warms up. You put the heat on, like on a cold day, you know, you get the car, you know, before you had the remote start, you know, now you just hit the remote start, you know, start it from wherever you are. And then by the time you get there, it's already warmed up. I don't like the helicopter ride. I like the board. I like the plane, you know, sit down, you know, first class. And, you know, I get a seltzer or something before we take off, maybe tea or whatever it may be. And, you know, we go on the runway and then we take off, you know. I don't like them helicopter rides. It just goes straight up. I lose I lose something in the helicopter ride, you know. So that's what this is like on tonight. Bishop, what's going on? Bishop, what's happening? Before we start, I do want to mention that our prayers are going out to the families of the children and those staff members in Tennessee, Nashville. 3 children, 3 adults in that Christian school by a 28-year-old shooter. And I want to add that this is the 128th school mass shooting in 2023.
Wow.
128. So our prayers go out to those families in Nashville and to all the families. And I know that just last week, there were people demonstrating and testifying while they were holding hearings about, restricting easy access to guns, and the Republicans were holding a hearing and some people were removed from the hearing because they were, outspoken and what have you. And then 5 or 7 days later, look what happens. Another school shooting. So our prayers go out to those families, the victims of those, the families that are suffering from, being victimized, with another senseless shooting. And so our prayers definitely go out to those families. And then also the tornado that hit today. I forgot exactly. If someone knows where that tornado hit, just put it in the comment section for me. I had it on the top of my head and I'm having a senior moment right now to come back to me in a minute. But those folks that are suffering loss, I think 21 lives so far were lost in this tornado. And in Mississippi, thank you, Phyllis. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. In Mississippi, 21 lives already have been counted, lost, and whole community wiped out, in Mississippi. And they say that, we know that Mississippi is one of the last places to really receive any infrastructure assistance. It's really sad. It's really sad. So we need to pray for our brothers and sisters in Mississippi. So there's a lot to pray for on tonight, Bishop. Also, I want to mention on tonight that I want to put this up at the top of the hour. Those of you that support the Real Talk platform and you are vested in what we're doing and what we're trying to purport and to dialogue, you can support us. You can sow a seed and be a blessing on tonight. Let me say from the beginning, and I know Bishop will echo this sentiment, that we never came on for money or for an offering or for a subscribership or membership or anything of that nature. We really did it organically in the pandemic to communicate with the people that we normally communicated with in a tactile environment, and as a means and a vehicle to keep those voices active, that relationship active. We started Real Talk, and it has proven to be a very insightful, informative, inspirational, and anointed portal to communicate. So I would encourage everyone on tonight, even now, you can sow a seed now to be a blessing to this ministry that is ministering to the people of God all over the world. Bishop, just want to make mention that on Wednesday morning, I have the Wednesday morning word, and at 6 a.m. every Wednesday, 6 a.m. you can take a picture of that and be a part of that. I give a special inspirational word, and we have prayer, and the virtual sanctuary opens up at 5 a.m. So those of you that want to join us this Wednesday, join us at 6 a.m. Okay. Bishop, I want to jump right. Well, before I do, Bishop, any special announcements you want to make this week before we go forward?
No, just our normal services on Wednesday night, of course, School of the Bible. And then on Friday night, Friday night encounter. So that's all we have going on this week as we prepare towards Palm Sunday, which I believe is next Sunday, the Sunday after next. That's
no. Wait a minute. Hold up, Bishop. I think no. Palm Sunday is this coming Sunday.
No, I think Palm Sunday is this coming Sunday. Is this the 5th Sunday?
No, there's no 5 Sundays in March. The first Sunday is Palm
first Sunday is, you're right, is
that's
April the 2nd, right?
Yeah. Only reason why I know is because Bishop already called me and said that we had to be in full choir dress for the first Sunday, for Palm Sunday and Communion Sunday.
Okay.
And that's this coming Sunday. And so that's Palm Sunday. We'll be distributing palms. We'll be in service at the Greater Highway Deliverance Temple.
That's going to be great.
This Sunday morning at 11 a.m. And Pastor Hassan was there this past Sunday morning at 11 a.m. And, and I was trying to get there because something in my spirit said, you need to get to church this morning. And so I was trying to get there after my 9 a.m. service. And one thing led to another. And so, but anyway, by the time I got there, people were laying out on the floor. Bishop had already ran out, and after he got finished preaching from the book of Numbers, prayed for people. Folks was laid out in the spirit. He ran out and preached at another church. And so, but this Sunday, and it was a move of God. And so, and then we came in at 3:00, and God moved again. And so we'll be back. So this Sunday we'll be together, both praise teams and music ministries and our ministers and elders, and everyone will be together on Palm Sunday at the Greater Highway Deliverance Temple. So I'm excited about that on this week. Okay, so let's get right into it because we only got a few more minutes left, 45 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we really get into this subject matter. And I think that it's important tonight. And we're going to be talking about compromise. And compromise is a very, very broad subject. It's a very, very broad subject, I will admit. And when you think about compromise, whether it be, whether you're talking about compromise in relationships or compromise in business, compromise in transactions, compromise in ministry, compromise in church, compromise in many things. You can ask this question: have we gone too far? Have we gone too far? Or have we not gone far enough? And the other question, when you start thinking about, where we are, and where we're going, where we've been, are we conforming to societal norms, or are we transforming societal norms? Are we following the pace, or are we setting the pace? And so I wanted to kind of look at this whole idea of compromise, because there's healthy compromise, there's unhealthy compromise. And I want to kind of look at and unpack what that looks like. What does healthy compromise look like? And what does unhealthy compromise look like? And how has that or not impacted our churches because of, or the lack of? And how has that impacted our relationships or because of, or the lack of. And so I think tonight, as we begin to dive into this dialogue, I want folks to get into the comment section, tell us what you think about this topic on tonight as we begin to break it up. Dr. Page, define for us compromise. Define that.
Well, when I think about compromise, it is simply changing the question to fit the answer. I think when we think about compromise, it's an agreement in an argument in which people involved reduce their demands or change their opinion in order for there to be some common ground. And when I think about compromise, I think about reducing your particular stance in order to find common ground that we can have conversation, a dialogue, and exchange. That's what I think about when you say the word compromise.
So maybe reducing your expectation, sacrificing what you would want out of the deal in order to make the deal.
I think it's some level of assimilation. I don't think you can not compromise and not engage in some level of assimilation, because compromise is to take down, to reduce, to conform to some degree, that there is some level of harmonious conversation. And in order for there to be any successful relationship, there has to be times of compromise, where one reduces their stance and the other person may amplify theirs. But it's finding some commonality in order for there to be some synergy put back into the connection.
So then you would agree then that there is at least two kinds of compromises, or if I categorize it like this, there's healthy compromise and there's unhealthy compromise. And I think what's true naturally is also true spiritually. So could you give us an example of healthy compromise on tonight?
I think when there's a healthy compromise, I think both sides are not relinquishing what they may have in terms of a conviction. You have a conviction, I have a conviction. I think it's healthy when I can maintain mine, you can maintain yours, but we can still find some common ground to exchange thoughts, ideologies, concepts, even differences, and still have some level of synergy. I think that's a healthy compromise. I think an unhealthy compromise, I would think, is when certain values have been lost, certain moral ethics are no longer important to the other side that you're trying to find that commonality with. I think compromise can be extremely difficult, and it can be extremely dangerous, because I think there should be some what we consider non-negotiables. In non-negotiables, there is no compromise. My relationship with Jesus Christ should not be at all under a discussion of compromise. I think we should be concretized in that. I think us being exclusivists I don't think there's no room for compromise there. But I think certain theological concepts, yes, can be compromised, particularly when they're not salvific in nature. It has nothing to do with salvation. We can differ and we can disagree, but when it comes to Jesus being Lord, there's no compromise to that. Head covering, yes. Women ministers, women pastors, whatever the doctrinal concepts may be, if it's not salvific, I think then it can be a healthy compromise. But when it's a non-negotiable, I think then you're treading on some very dangerous ground.
Okay. So then based on what you just said, then a healthy compromise would look like when there's an even exchange of sacrifice that results in everyone involved being satisfied.
I agree with that. That's a good definition.
Okay. Everyone involved being satisfied. So then conversely, based on what you just said, unhealthy compromise would be when there's an uneven exchange and one side gives more than the other.
Correct.
Resulting in a post-relational war because of some sense of inequity.
I think that's another great way to frame it. But I think, having this kind of discussion or compromise, maybe for me and you or others who may be in our age bracket, I think compromise is something that looks different for us than maybe those who are younger than us. Compromise for us now basically is finding a ground of peace where there's no chaos, no confusion, no ill will, just no tension, where it is somewhat easy. It's not uncooperative. It's not recalcitrant. It's not uncooperative. I think in where we are, maybe let me talk about me, maybe where I am. That's the space kind of where I want to be, where it's not reticent. It's not taciturn. It's not argumentative. It's a place where we can have decent commonality of respect of what each party may believe or what they may even feel, because what we believe all the time is not right. What we feel all the time is not right, but it may be right to us and feel right to us at the time. So I think compromise for us takes on a different connotation, a different meaning. I think we talked about this earlier. Anything that's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort, that's unnecessary. It's not important for me at this point in my life. There's too many other things that are much more important to me in my life. And I'm not going to argue doctrinally with anybody. I'm not doing that. You want to believe that? Fine, no problem. If it gets to a point of tension and uncomfortability, I think we're in a different space. When we were younger, we fought for every inch of real estate that we could possess. But as you get older, you yield more. You give in more because you recognize at the end of the day, no one really wins. If both parties don't win, both businesses don't win, Nobody wins. There's no such thing as I won. No, if you win, I lose. If I win, you lose. It's not until we both win that there's a win. And the only way we both can win, there must be peace, commonality, common ground, a healthy exchange. That's the only way we win. Other than that, it's just conjecture at the end of the day. Bunch of conjecture.
When I look at compromise from that perspective, I look at it more as a diffusing than I do in another lens. And that lens would be what has impacted or not impacted, what has been a catalyst or not a catalyst because of or the lack of compromise, what has resulted in the overindulgence of societal norms in a sacred environment, opposed to, what we see. Have we made certain compromises in order to not lose, participation? I mean, that's a big one. Have we relaxed so many issues, and so many things have changed? And I never thought that I would be at this point where I'm scratching my head a little bit now, but it's okay. It's okay for me to scratch my head because, I served and I'm serving my generations, right? And there will be others that will serve their generations and have a progressive experience with God that will hopefully produce his image, in the earth, and I think that, my understanding of it and my concept of it and my visual of it may be a whole lot different coming from a 60-year lens opposed to a 30-year-old lens.
Yeah, I think when you get older, so compromise for us as you get older, it is much different than I was in my thought process in terms of compromise when I was much younger. Where I am now, where you have grandchildren, you've raised your children, you've pastored a couple of decades, you've traveled the world, you've done pretty much anything you want to do, you've owned property, you've owned vehicles, you've had what we would consider a successful career. Life just looks a little bit more different sitting in this seat than I did when I was 30, maybe even when I was 40. I want to be an apologist. I want to defend the faith. I want to be able to stand for what is right. But I don't think that I am called to just be conjecturing aimlessly. I don't think we're supposed, the Bible said we should not enter into vain babblings. I think a lot of things that we do in terms of the whole salvific idea is vain babblings. I think when we push back, it should be because it's about the cause of Christ. It's about someone standing against the orthodox classical beliefs that Jesus Christ is Lord. I got it. But anything outside of that, that's not salvific, it is left up for theological argument. And when I say theological argument, it is spirited, but is never disrespectful. It is all parties being able to articulate what they feel and then listen to the other side. Most people, and this is a fact, most people sit in the queue waiting to react. They don't sit in the queue listening to what's being said. They sit in the queue waiting for their turn to talk. And normally, you're never going to get anything accomplished like that unless one party compromise and say, you know what, I get it. I get it. They're not hearing me, and I'm probably not hearing them. So the best thing for us to do, find some common ground and move on past that. And I think that's probably where we are now. Teaching in 2 or 3 different seminaries now, I've learned the art of compromise, because I'm not going to argue with the student. The reason I'm the professor and you're the student is because I've matriculated and I've got the degree. The reason you're sitting in the class is to learn from me. Now, if we do this in a real healthy Socratic way, I can learn from you and you can learn from me. But I'm not going to be arguing and not be combative with someone I'm trying to teach something to. And I think a lot of people could learn if they would just compromise their point. Just don't serve your point yet. Just listen, digest, let it marinate, and maybe give it a day or two. Marinate, then come back after some close scrutiny, analysis, reflection, and maybe you'll find out that what they were saying, they were right, or maybe you may find out how misinformed they are. Because when I went to seminary, that's what was my mindset. I'm not going to go in class and debate with my professor. It's 1 or 2 things I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn he knows more than me, or I'm going to learn he or she is misinformed. Either way, I'm going to walk away from the encounter with something. And I think it takes a lot of discipline, self-control to compromise. I failed many times. Many times I fail, but it's what I'm learning. And then I don't know if you'll agree with me with this, but this is what I'm learning. We talk about the fruit of the Spirit, fruit, singular, that have 9 attributes out of the fruit. One of the attributes of the fruit of the Spirit is temperance, self-control. I am learning that is something I must be better at. Self-control. At 61, I'm still learning. I must be in control, because we don't talk much about that being one of the attributes.
That's
but
true.
Control and temperance, man, it will keep you out of a lot of compromising situations.
That's true.
That's person, true. And I'm going to tell you where I got it from. Proverbs 25:28. A man who does not have control over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls. If you can't practice temperance, self-control, you're going to always be in a compromising situation. So why not just, Lord, help me to be more in charge of my feelings and my emotions. Help me to manage them better. I mean, I think once we do that, I think compromise then looks differently from that lens.
That's true. That's true. I'm reading this now. Whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls, no guardrails, no discipline. Like a city broken down without walls. Yeah, that's powerful. And so I think that, finding middle ground, finding middle ground.
And Mitch, knowing when, I tell you what was compromise, knowing when to say, this is not going anywhere. This is doing more damage than it's doing good. I mean, knowing when you've reached that space where nothing fruitful, nothing productive is coming out of this. We got to end this right now, because it's not going. It's going to end. If we continue, it's going to end worse, and it's going to be more destructive, more chaotic, more combustible. And I think that as you get older, you start yielding and saying, "Listen, okay, no problem." My dad told me something a long time ago, many years ago, and I never realized it until really recently. He says, you don't have to be right. Even when you are, you don't have to be right. Even when you are, you don't have to be right. And I'm learning, you don't have to be right, because guess what? When you are right, it comes back around again. Eventually, it's coming back around again. So you can't force your point. You can't force your viewpoint. You can only share it with those who are open enough to receive it and willing to compromise to hear it. If they don't want to hear it, you're killing yourself when you don't have to. I mean, so compromise looks, for me, this is just Liston Page. For me, it looks different now than it did when I was 30 or 40.
And interestingly enough, pride has a lot to do with compromise or the lack thereof. Pride and wanting to, like you said earlier, and it's so funny you said that, when Bishop said you don't have to be right, even when you're right. And
nobody wins, Mitch. Nobody wins.
Compromise. When I think about compromise, I think about, and maybe this is not the best example, but I think about Solomon. When I think about the two women who made an agreement that when, before they die, we'll eat each other's babies. And so the famine got bad, and they said, all right, well, listen, you cook your baby, or whatever the case may be. And, then when it was time for the other baby, the woman said, no, I'm not going to do it. They went to Solomon, and whatever the case, I don't know if I'm getting the story mixed up or not, but whatever it was, the baby, the surviving child came to Solomon, and the one woman was trying to claim the child for hers. And
you got two narratives mixed up.
I'm mixing up two narratives, right?
Because the narrative that you're mixing up is you had two harlots that had children, and one harlot rolled over on her baby in the night time, and the baby suffocated and died. And while the other harlot was asleep, she took that harlot's baby and claimed it as her own. And Solomon's wisdom was, well, listen, cut the baby in half. And the woman who claimed to have the child, said, sure, cut it in half. Solomon said, give me the child, give it to her, because a real mother would not want her child cut in half. So that was the wisdom of Solomon. Right. So those are two different narratives that you had mixed up, but I get the point. Solomon did not just make the decision. He said, no. I'm gonna put the weight of responsibility on you. I'm gonna let you have it. And I'm sure, of course, this is implied hermeneutics. I'm sure through his wisdom, he already knew who the mother of the child was. But I'm not gonna argue with this. No. I tell you what we're gonna do. No problem. Just cut it in half. And that's a powerful narrative that you just raised, really, on compromise. I see the hermeneutic now differently. That is a powerful narrative, because how many babies did we have that was ours that we said, no, you can have it. You take it. It's mine, but go ahead. You take it. I'd rather you have it whole than us cut it in half. And I think that is compromise, when you're willing to say, you know what? You take the whole argument. You take the whole discussion. You win. You win. I yield. I yield. You got it. But that takes self-control. That takes a high level of temperance to do that. And I think we're all evolving there. Let me talk about me. I'm not quite there yet. I'm evolving there. And I'm praying and asking God every day, help me with better self-control, better temperance. Help me to know when to yield and when to push the envelope, because you can't give in to every conflict. There's some conflicts we got to fight, but then there's others. You know what they say? Pick your battles. I think that is part of the self-control piece. Learning what battles to really get involved in. And the other ones, it ain't that deep. It ain't that important.
And I guess that's highly applicable across the board. And I think that, we probably have more time to allow the Holy Spirit to settle disputes if we knew how to get out the way. But see, because we don't know how to get out the way, we keep on picking at it, and we keep on messing with it, and we keep on trying to fix it and trying to deal with it. And a lot of times all we need to do is just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Just, okay, it's better to build a relationship than to win an argument. So let me just leave it alone. And you know what? Maybe in a couple of days or a couple of weeks, something will happen. The Spirit of the Lord will move, or some word will come forth that will, bring some reconciliation or bring some definition. Or
why can't it also be a sign? Why can't it just be insight? Why can't it be a teaching moment that, you know what? This may not be good for you. You need to reevaluate that. And I think sometimes, man, the writing is on the wall. The hand, it's right there. It's clearly for you to see, and sometimes we ignore it. And people say a lot of stuff, but when the rubber comes to meet the road, they don't mean what they say. And a lot of what happens is a revelation. It's a sign. It may be God showing you this is what you gotta look forward to. I mean, There's several ways we can look at it. You know, what does Maya Angelou say? When a person shows you who they are the first time, believe
Don't
it.
leave that out.
First time, believe it. I mean, some things, that's not every case. That's so, I don't want to paint that with a broad brush. That's not every case. But some situations are signals and signs for you to look at and now evaluate.
Right, right. So if you do it my way, this time, we could try it your way next time. These are, forms of compromise. We'll do it my way this time, but let's try it, we'll try it your way this time. And then we'll try it my way next time. These are, compromises. But I mean, I guess, when is compromise too much?
When you lose yourself. When you lose yourself. When you lose yourself, when you start becoming something that you're not intrinsically, that's when it becomes too much. When you have to be something that you're not in order for there to be peace, then that is an unhealthy compromise. And one day you're going to wake up and resent the person that you made all of these compromising decisions for.
When you have to be someone that you're not.
You got to be something that you, in order for us to get along, I got to be something that you're not in order for me and you to get along. Eventually, one day, that's going to blow up. You're going to get tired of that. People are going to get tired of that. That's why it's important to tell people who you are up front. Don't give them your representative. Present the real you to them. So that way, they can make a decision whether or not they want to forge ahead. And then what's important? I mean, come on. Listen, I don't care what nobody say. There is no, and we're talking in general. So we're not talking about just man-woman relationships or whatever those relationships entail. We're talking about all kind of connections. Let me tell you something. You are not going to get all you want from any one relationship. It doesn't work like that. I may get 60% of what I really need, but that other 40%, is it that important that I've got to continually argue and fuss and be uncomfortable? I mean, those are things we need to really evaluate. Our relationship, we made a decision long ago. Listen, whatever the deficiencies either of us have in our relationship, it ain't enough for us not to be friends. We're going to cultivate the points that are strong and do what we can to gingerly navigate through those minefields that we may disagree on. I mean, that's the beauty and the wonder of compromise. But is it, you got to decide, is it worth it? Is it really worth it? I mean, do I want to do this? These are hard questions, but the answers are much more telling. Do I want to deal with that? And then am I compromising to the point where it's degrading or diminishing or devaluing who I am as an individual? Is this compromise? Am I redefining who I am in order just to get along? I mean, there's several things there, Mitch.
trying to impress people that you don't like. And, it's, I mean, it's really, it's, I think that when you mature, you get to the place where, you're not going to subject yourself to environments that create discomfort, and you're not going to continue to be disrespected or disregarded or disenfranchised or disheartened, especially if what you're doing and the place you're doing it from is a place that is genuine. And I know a lot of people have been there. A lot of people have experienced this, where you put it all out for people. You put it all out on the line for people. You try to be the best that you can be for people. You even compromise yourself and some of your characters and your integrity in order to press for some acceptance. A lot of people do it, and only, to find out in the end, it wasn't really worth it. So, the other thing is, you said something very significant about, picking those battles and, thinking about those minefields and navigating them, because those minefields exist in every relationship. Every relationship has a minefield.
All of them. All of them. I mean, I dealt with one yesterday. And I was talking to, it's so amazing. I was talking to Dr. Walker Allen today. And I said, Allen, I've come to a point in my life where if people don't evolve, you can't make them grow. You can't make people maturate, mature, develop. You can't. You have to learn how to love them and enjoy them where they are. And you have to make a decision when you want to spend time with them. If the time you spend is pulling you away from something much more significant and valuable, then you have a decision you have to make. Now, if you're not doing anything of any consequence and you want to make that investment of your time, fine. But don't get upset when people don't evolve. Don't get upset with them. Don't get upset with yourself. Just come to grips with the fact that everyone does not grow and expand and amplify at the same rate. People don't evolve the same. Just learn how to accept them where they are and keep it moving. Don't go in their space, upsetting their environment. If they're comfortable in their environment and they don't see the need to reevaluate it and change, then you got to make a decision, because going in it, making them upset, making them uncomfortable, telling them their environment should be better than what it is, you should be far further along than this, all you're doing is creating animosity. So you gotta decide. And I think the seasons of life where we are is that we got to be in places and spaces where people have the same desires that we have. Other than that, you're wasting time. You want a condo, they want a 6,000 square foot house. Well, guess what's going to happen? They're going to get on your nerves talking about this 6,000 square foot house. Now, it may be possible where they can show you the benefits of having something much larger. But if they can't get you there, they shouldn't frustrate themselves beating a dead horse, so to speak. I just think that has to be something that we really take to heart in this season of our lives, that we're not making people around us who's not where we are uncomfortable. I think we got to take responsibility many times for going in people's space and evaluating it and saying, no, it could be better than this. And if they're not ready for the better, it causes tension. It causes tension. And sometimes they will compromise with us, saying, yeah, I know I should do better. I want more. And we start them on a process quicker, prematurely. They'll get there, but they need to get there on their own terms, not always being provoked by us, unless they just want to receive that.
You're absolutely right. And we're coming down to the end of our narrative on this evening. But I want to say that I'd like to push this conversation to this next square, if I could. And I want to leave it here for you to ponder, Bishop. How has compromise impacted our churches experiencing a greater presence of God's anointing? Where have we compromised that? In other words, we come from a school, a place where, experiencing God in a supernatural way was commonplace. It wasn't an unusual occurrence. It was an unusual occurrence if God didn't show up. And so, how has compromise played into moving that part from being functional in our services? And maybe it has not. Maybe it's something else that's triggered that. But yeah, I love to push that narrative and get your expertise on that. I want to thank Bishop Donald Oliver for joining us tonight from South Carolina, a son of the late, great Bishop Roy Edward Brown, Pilgrim Cathedral, and the founder of Pilgrim Assemblies International. Bless you, Bishop. And to all of our guests on tonight, all the real talkers on tonight, you're all special. Thank you for joining us on tonight. If you're not following us on Facebook or Instagram, follow us. It's time to sow a seed on tonight. I want everyone that's here, get your seed in your hand. If we were in a studio, a sanctuary, we'd have you preparing your seed on tonight. So think of it as that, as we prepare to give unto the Lord on this evening. Everyone, don't sow a seed less than 23 on tonight. Don't sow a seed less than 23 on tonight. And God will be glorified. Bishop, any final words of encouragement, direction, instruction for the real talkers on tonight, just before we sign off with our seeds?
Man, this has been a very powerful discussion. I'm looking forward to our discussion on next week. I'm reading a book entitled Syncretism and Religion. And it talks about how it's a great possibility, and it is suggested that we have lost some of our classical Orthodox roots, blending and synchronizing with other faith practices and traditions that does not come out of the soil of what we believe. And it comes from compromise, inclusion. So I think as we push forward, this is a very relevant conversation, because do we see from a classical Pentecostal lens, do we see the same intensity of the Spirit of God in our worship services as we did years ago. I mean, what is it is a new paradigm? Are we operating out of a new praxis? Is there a new construct? Or are we just maybe over exaggerating because of the environment and because of the plurality that our diversity that we live in? Are we amplifying that more than there's still a strong remnant of believers that are, as we would say, sacrificing their lives in a way where the power of God is just as relevant and pronounced as it was in times past?
I mean, I can think of just a couple of things, and I guess I'm not even doing it in any particular order. But if I just jotted down three things real quick, compromise of participation, compromise of praise in a service, instead of sitting as a spectator being entertained, compromising attendance, showing up, so not any particular. So if I put in order, attendance, praise, participation in some auxiliary or ministry, that, where have we compromised? We used to, it was no question that we were coming to church every single time the door of the church is swing open, we would swing in. Okay. Now we're negotiating, and not only are we negotiating, but pastors are accepting. Okay, I'll see them second and fourth, and I'll see them first and third, or I'll see them first Sunday. You know what I mean? I'll never see them on the fourth Sunday. Fourth Sunday is the Sunday, Rev. I don't come on the fourth Sunday. That's youth Sunday. That's for the children, and that's for my day off. And, I thought about this the other day. I said to Pastor Hassan, I said, Pastor, do you think that it would enhance the attendance if we had transportation for people to come to church? And he said, no. He said, we don't provide transportation 5 or 6 days out of the week for them to go to work. So what makes church so special that all of a sudden you need a special lift?
I would say what makes church so non-essential that you can't put the same effort into going to a secular job that you would go into a sacred space. See, I think what we've done, we have provided a vehicle for them to be non-participatory, not active in worship or praise. But even in that, that's our nomenclature from classical Pentecostalism. And that's our manner and style of worship. See, I'm in a different space, and I think we're all going into different space. Is shouting, dancing, raising of the hand, singing songs, is that biblical way of faith practice, or is that our cultural way of faith practice? And I think sometimes our cultural faith practices transcend biblical interpretation of worship. And I think we need to get back to understanding what is worship, what is praise. When we grew up, my mom and dad would say, you shouldn't be out there dancing and praising if you don't have an experience. You dancing and praising because God brought you through something. And you worship God for who he is. I mean, they that worship can only worship in spirit and in truth. So if you're not in truth and your spirit is not being transformed, it's very difficult for me to see you with your hands raised and your mouth open in worship. Now you can follow suit as a mechanical type of function, but I'm talking about in terms of an experience. So I think, we probably need to reevaluate and revisit some of our faith practices. And maybe we have compromised those because we go to this scripture right here. Let everything that have breath praise ye the Lord. Let everything. I don't care where you come from today. Let everything that have breath praise ye the Lord. And that may be true. But who was David writing that to? He was writing it to who? Covenantal believers. Let everything in here that's breathing give God praise, give God worship. So I think that there must be a reevaluating of biblical texts that we use to invoke participation. Said that.
Yep. Now you're right. Listen, Peter Keynes, thank you for your seed tonight. Kathleen, thank you for your seed tonight. I need 8 more people tonight to sow your seed. Sow your seed tonight. While Bishop was talking, man, you was lighting me up. You were lighting us up on tonight. Thank you so much for setting us up for next week. Next week's going to be a powerful discussion. Need you to sow your seed on tonight. It's so sad. Let me hear this. Let me read this. It's so sad we have to have this conversation, like compromising to go to the Lord's house. I'm kind of emotional right now, and I repent. As it, okay. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you, sis. We all, there's room for a turnaround on all platforms, and where, like you said, Bishop, where it may be, attendance for someone, it may be participation for somebody else, it may be, something else for somebody else, and like you said, your parents, the way, we came up in church, you praise God because you had a reason to praise God, and today, we praise God, it's a part of our cultural experience, like you said. Is it really out of the adoration? Is it really out of appreciation? Is it really out of, what is it? Why are you praising God? What is it? Is it because, this is the time we dance. The music starts. This is the time. Yeah, this time we all get out there. And I remember when I was growing up, I know they do it today because we did it back then. We said, all right, you go first. You get out there, dance first. And when you go out there, then somebody come out and dance next to you, but, it was, it was an experience. It was a cultural experience. It was also a spiritual experience, and sometimes you mess around, you start out playing and the Holy Ghost get a hold of you for real.
You're right. But Mitch, I think I don't even think we value the expression enough to even treat people differently through our behavior and our temperaments. When we do all that dancing and shouting in church, it would come right out and get caught up in an offense and stop speaking, and stop fellowshipping. But we just came out of what we would call a spiritual experience. And I beg to differ. I think it was spirited. I think it was culturally passionately driven by what we practice as a faith tradition. But I don't think there's no real transformative power there. Now that's kind of where I'm at. I think we should start looking for transformative power. And we certainly would not be having a conversation about attendance and participation and commitment if people really had life-changing, transformative experience. Because church is about, for me, formation. It is taking you through spiritual formation where you evolve through progressive sanctification into the image of Christ. Not get tired shouting and dancing all day.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Listen, we can talk. Listen, I don't want to use up tonight for next week. I don't want to do that. I don't want folk to come back for this on next. Thank you so much, Juanita. Thank you so much for your seed, and Claudette, thank you so much for your seed on tonight. I just need 6 more people just to sow on tonight. I'm not going to hold you while you're doing it. I just trust that those other 6 will sow on tonight, and then those of you that are led of the Lord to support this platform, we encourage you to do so. This is good ground to sow a seed in. Well, Bishop, one for the history books, another one for the history books. This will go in the catalog. This will go in the repertoire, in the repository. Interesting thing is, people will actually be able to go back if Jesus tarries. People will be able to go back. They'll be in 2050 something or 2060 something. And all of you people in 2060 something that's looking at us right now, I'm here to let you know there's some good stuff you're listening to here. They're gonna look at this and say, man, what was those guys talking about in the year 2023? They're gonna be in the year 2060. Hey, technology at its best. Well, listen, thank you, everyone. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for joining us on tonight. Don't forget, every Monday night, if it's 9 p.m., you can rest assured, no matter where Bishop is, no matter where I am, we're going to find a way to find a camera and get to the studio to talk to our real talkers on Monday night. So God bless you on tonight. We'll see you on Wednesday morning, Wednesday night, Friday night, and Friday later night. For the fall of the prophet, and you're going to be blessed of the Lord. Walk with the King today and be a blessing. Thank you.